Hello everyone! I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. In this video, I wanted to speak to you about a book that I'm reading and one of the main lessons that I'm garnering from it. Now, one of the books I'm reading is a Tibetan book of living and dying. But another one that I'm reading, because I kind of like to read 2 or 3 books at the same time. You know, if I get bored of one, I kind of move to the other one and I move back. And the other one that I'm reading is just so good. It's by Robert Monroe and it is Journeys Outside of the Body or Journeys from the Body. I'll put the link in the description below. It's basically about astral travel or astral projection. And if you don't know what astral projection is, basically it's the idea of projecting your second body, your pranic body, your energetic body, whatever you want to call it, because we have this physical body and then we have an energetic body inside, and we have many bodies underneath as well, at least 5 that yoga says, and they're called koshas. But the second body, the energetic body, the pranic body, is the one that usually travels, does the astral traveling. It's the one that goes out roaming about in the world, roaming about the universes as you lay at night dreaming and sleeping. It's the one that travels and meets up with random people or random beings outside this dimension or in this dimension while you're sleeping or dreaming, or even sometimes when you're awake. Yeah. So Robert Monroe, he is brilliant and he's brilliant in so many different ways. I love him so much because he documented every single one of his astral travel projections. So it happened very randomly to him. He wasn't trained in it. Actually, in fact, he was afraid of the whole thing happening because his body would start vibrating and then he would step out of his body. His second body would be out of his body and he'd be looking back at his physical body. And at first, obviously, he was terrified because he thought he was losing his mind, because he thought it was an hallucination and obviously all of that. But then he realized little by little that it wasn't an hallucination, that he's not losing his mind, that actually there's lots of people who can do this, but they don't speak about it because obviously if you speak about it, you might be considered cuckoo. And so he kept it to himself, except for a couple of friends who he trusted, and he wrote copious notes every single time he went out and traveled into what he calls local 1, local 2, and local 3. There's 3 different places that he would go visit, or 3 different dimensions. And every time he did that, he would come back into his physical body and then he would take notes on what he did. And so it's so fascinating to read his books. There's 3 books I think he's written, and actually there's a Robert Monroe Institute in the US where you can actually go and learn how to astral travel. And it's very easy because it's a natural phenomena. Not a natural phenomena. It's very natural for people if they can get over their obviously their fear of death and their fear of being separated from their body, their fear of the unknown. If they can get over those fears, it's actually very easy for us to separate from our bodies and travel, right? And so he kind of teaches techniques on how to do it. And the institute, as I said, you can go there and you can learn how to astral project. And you go there, and then after 4 or 5 days of training, you can do it. And it's pretty fast, which shows you how our physical bodies are really just a shell for everything else that's going on. In any case, if you believe this or if you don't believe this, the reason why I'm bringing this up is not because I'm telling you about my astral projection. I haven't been able to do it yet. I'm still practicing. But also lucid dreaming is kind of related to that as well, if you are a lucid dreamer or if you're looking into it. But if you are interested in this stuff, please read his books. They are fascinating. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing. I literally am sitting there thinking, oh my God. And so that's the reason I started wanting to do this video, is because I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, I used to imagine that I knew a little bit about this world, a little bit. And then I read his book. And instantaneously, I realized I know nothing. The even minuscule amount, the 0.0000001% that I thought I knew, I even don't know that. I really actually have no idea what's going on in the world. I have no idea what we're doing here, why we're here. And all these videos that I'm doing, I'm thinking to myself, obviously they're just my opinions, But really, I have no idea what I'm talking about, because as soon as I read his books and realized, all the different dimensions that he described, and the different creatures that he encountered, and the different conversations that he had, and the different experiences that he garnered, I just sat there and I just thought to myself, I am living such a limited, small, narrow-minded life. Because even if I am a little bit, liberal as considered by this world right now, even then I'm still living in this physical world, bounded by the physical laws of this world, and I'm completely unaware of the world that is out there, of not even the world that's after life, or the world that is in the different dimensions, but like just the fact that I could even go and travel to all these worlds. I had no idea. I read the book and I literally, as I said, I was just sitting there, mind blown. I was just staring off into space, thinking to myself, oh my God, I just can't believe. First of all, I'm so grateful for Robert Monroe that he wrote these books. Hopefully my dream is to one day astral travel and meet him somewhere. But because I can imagine he's still like roaming around doing his thing. But more than that, I'm so grateful because this kind of blew my mind open. Basically, it's like, I felt like I was blind before that, and all of a sudden I can see, and I see that, wow, I'm living such a limited life, that I'm living at the bottom of a well and considering that I'm living in the ocean, right? Like that story says about the frog in the well. And so literally I'm like, oh my God, I see that there's an ocean out there of possibilities, of so many possibilities, limitless possibilities. And I'm sitting here in the bottom of the well, realizing there's an ocean there, but I'm so afraid, obviously. There's a lot of fear coming up within me, even when I think about astral travel, or I'm trying to do his techniques. I'm like, oh my God, I'm afraid. What if I get stuck somewhere? Or what if someone kills my second body and I can't come back? Obviously, a lot of fear. But also just a lot of unknowns. He's written a lot of the stuff about things that he dealt with. And if you read the book, it's just filled with stuff that I'm like, oh my God, I just can't believe this is actually real. But, of course, one of the things that a lot of people have done has been, telling him that he's hallucinating, that this really didn't happen. But the person who recommended this book to me, he actually has done astral travel. And a couple of them have, actually. A couple of people recommended this to me. Because I noticed that when I'm meditating, I'm able to, I don't know if I'm necessarily moving out of my body, but I notice that I'm kind of projecting all of these beautiful scenes from out of this world. They're not earthly for sure. I'm out in the space somewhere, or I'm out in like heavenly gardens, or I'm out in other dimensions, and I see all these projections, and they might be just my imagination, but they're so real and vivid to me that I realize that partly what I'm doing when I'm going into these deep states of meditation is astral projecting myself into all of these different dimensions and realms. And so I'm really interested in exploring that further. And so obviously when I started talking about it with my friends, they started recommending this book, and they started talking about their own experience of astral travel. The problem, of course, with this is that if you don't believe, you don't believe. And if you believe, you believe. There really is no in between. You're not a person who's like, yeah, maybe I kind of maybe believe. No, actually, it's like the two opposite extremes. The people who don't believe will not believe. No matter what you tell them, they will never believe you. And the people who believe, they just believe so fervently that they can't even see anything beyond it, right? And so, I mean, obviously you might be looking at this video, or like listening to me speak and thinking, oh my God, she's obviously gone bonkers, which is fine. This is absolutely fine with me. But the reason, as I said, I wanted to do this video is to just to share my wonder and my curiosity and just my sense of awe at the fact that we think we live in a world. We think we live in the ocean, and we actually live in a tiny little baby well. We have no idea what the entire rest of the world looks like. And I really feel like astral travel is that like bounce into the ocean, where you're all of a sudden moving from that baby well into that ocean and realizing, whoa, there's so much to experience and so much out there. And I had no idea. I was sitting here in the bottom of this well thinking this is the entire universe. And this is what we do. This is the Maya of illusion, right? The illusion of Maya. that you sit here on this physical realm, on this planet, and you think, yeah, this is the real world. And then you read a book by Robert Monroe or some other books and you realize, I see, okay, yeah, this is not the real world. In fact, this is a very small portion of the entire universe and possibilities and realms and dimensions that are out there, right? And not to, say this so that we pretend like, okay, so this physical world doesn't really matter, so we can pretend like we don't actually have to live in it anymore. No, of course, you still live here because you still have to take care of your physical body, you still have to eat, you still have to pay your bills. But to realize that, yeah, this is just one minuscule portion of the entirety of this creation, and you're just a little baby ant, and this huge universe is out there just waiting to be explored. Well, that's what I think of it, at least. And I'm really excited, as I said, I'm really excited to learn the techniques, to get over my fears, and to start kind of hopefully moving forward in this journey of mine. If you don't believe in it and you think I'm cuckoo, obviously that's great, thank you, but don't let me know that because I already know that a lot of people think I'm cuckoo. If you have done astral travel in the past or lucid dreaming, I would love to hear your experiences, extremely interested in them. If you want to private message me because you're afraid of sharing it on the public realm, please go ahead, I would love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for listening till the end. I appreciate your support and I'm really grateful that you're around. I hope that you're having an amazing day and I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.